Welcome to Evolved Sun. I'm your host, Matt Finch, and in today's episode, you're going to be learning about one of my favorite topics. I think it's more relevant today than it ever has been, and that is the topic of wanderers, starseeds, and other volunteer souls, and their relationship with money and work. A wanderer or a starseed or a volunteer soul, those are all just different names for any soul that is either from 4th, 5th, or 6th density that is incarnating on a 3rd density planet, which right here we're on Earth, for a number of reasons, usually to provide service, to polarize more rapidly in service to others than their home vibration, to work on their balances not mastered in higher density incarnations and recapitulate lessons and more balance more fully, and other reasons as well. To teach you about this really profound and important and timely topic, I'm going to be using today as a resource a Wanderer's Handbook, an owner's manual for ETs and other spiritual outsiders, written by Carla Rueckert and abridged by Jim McCarty of LL Research. Specifically, we're at the section in the book on wanderers and societal issues. And within the societal issues section, we're going to cover two of the subsections, both money and work, as they pretty much go together. This is a long and in-depth episode with a lot of examples and a lot of great information. Just listening to this can make you feel a whole lot better about your current situation and your future. And so without further ado, let's get right into it. Money. It does not take long after our incarnation's beginning for us to form the opinion that money is a powerful thing. Our parents seem to work to acquire it and think carefully before spending it. As children, we find ourselves being judged by how much of it we are able to spend on our clothes and our appearance, especially as we enter into that long phase of youth which is heavily involved in being in. It may be possible to be popular without the right sort of clothing, the right possessions, the ability to go where it is cool to go, and to do in things, but it is not particularly probable. As a child, I became very aware that our family did not have sufficient funds to furnish me with what I felt I needed in the way of the right clothes and gadgets. I developed a desire for having this marvelous substance that seemed to open so many doors. As I continued to mature, I became aware of the negative aspects of money. When I was 13, my kidneys failed, and as a result, I was in the hospital for 2 straight months, and then at the doctor's office every day for 5 more months being given shots. This resulted in a staggering bill. I felt very guilty about costing my parents money they did not have, and in my first attempt to create money, I made up a tray of what I thought were beautiful artificial flower corsages, each one handmade from wood fiber by my careful toil. No one who owned a store near my home was willing to sell them for me. In my helpless frustration, I became far more aware of the power of money and the devilish unfairness of not having enough of it. As I grew up to adulthood, I explored even deeper the stewardship of what funds I was able to acquire, and the very disturbing sense of evil that I often whiffed, standing at the sidelines of the news of the day and watching people with large amounts of money wield that power for their own good, and not necessarily others' weal. One thing I did not question was the need to work for money. The work ethic was drilled into me, and I saw the need in my everyday life. My family's acceptance of the need to work for money was complete. Further, I learned to take pride in my work, and to this day, whether it is for money or not, in any effort I make, I attempt to give it my best. Quo says, "Young ones within your culture are taught to work, to give a good effort, to follow certain paths in order to further ambition. The soul is taught that worth is in what one does, and so each growing spirit faces the self, attempts to find that which will earn the money, attempts to prepare the self for doing this, and then spends the life following a certain career, profession. Blessed is the person whose natural path leads her through schooling or preparation of another kind to a job or career that pays her bills and fulfills the needs for her life. For most of us, at least at times, the supply of funds fails. The path from learning to working is not straight, and there is a real question as to how healthful a thing money really is. We can fall prey to money worries very easily, in spite of living in an affluent culture. Those of Quo say, the question of supply is perhaps the deepest chasm of irrational concern which seduces your peoples. In the face of this, we simply suggest that as the healthy regard for money is in being sure of the daily bread, and then allowing concerns to fall away as appropriate, that each simply move, each day or each time he feels this concern, into a conscious reorientation. This is sound and biblical advice, following, as it does, the wording of the Lord's Prayer, in which we are told to pray only for what which we need for the day, for our daily bread. We definitely need a certain amount of supply in order to buy the food to nourish our bodies and to shelter them. All other concerns can and will be handled as best we can. It narrows our area of concern to a size we can handle. This does offer some immediate peace of mind, but the question remains how to evaluate this money that we spend so much time earning and then spending. It is very tempting to try to store up as much of it as possible in an effort to be secure, but in truth, we are never truly secure. If our money is in a bank, the bank can fail. If it is in a stock market, the market can fail. If it is under our mattress, the currency itself can fail. Events can occur, such as protracted illness, which absorb our last dime. If we are devoted overly much to amassing this source of monetary supply, we are as understandable and as silly as the cartoon character Uncle Scrooge, rolling in our pile of coins, but not necessarily being good stewards of the energy and power we have accumulated. Security is a wonderful thing, and I do work to conserve funds so that my life might be secure financially. But there is a sharp difference between appreciating what money can do and loving money. Appreciation and conservation of supply is prudent. Love of money is, as the first epistle of Timothy says, the root of all evil. Joseph Kem says, the security you felt is an illusion. Tomorrow your dollars may be worthless. Your land could fall out of your hands for a million different reasons. You could wake up dead tomorrow. There are no guarantees you will make it to retirement, much less retire, and much less live happily ever after. The odds are that you can live happily ever after, but only if you let go of the bars of your cage, the past, and set your sights on where you are going, the future. The future is eternity. A spiritual approach to money, then, could even include claiming that money itself is evil, or at least the love of amassing money. Certainly the teacher known as Jesus felt that the universe would provide what was truly needed, and sent his disciples out on the road with no money whatever. And ever since the advent of monastic communities, poverty, along with chastity and obedience, has been one of 3 vows taken by those who follow the monastic path by joining such communities. However, to my mind, it is far more near the truth of the situation to see money as a kind of energy that comes to us in varying amounts, but that which, whatever the amount, we can look upon as an energy, as potentially spiritual, as sexual, or any other kind of energy. It simply depends on what we do with the money, in our minds and in our actions. To better gain access to a right relationship with money, it is well to place concerns about finances within that holy of holies which lies deep within your mind. The consciousness of oneness is a consciousness of infinite plenty. The creation is full of all that there is. Every need has that which can meet the need. This consciousness of infinite supply sheds a welcome light upon the soil besieged by financial worries. But what if you were to alter the term money and subsume it in the term energy? When the term energy is used, this may aid somewhat, for that which is energy does not need to be hoarded, but rather expresses its nature and its potentiation. Thusly, the general rule of thumb is that entities may do that which they must to gain enough energy to survive and be comfortable. This energy may be transmuted by those who see the spectrum of energies so that many things become money, and we feel sure that each can think of many instances where seemingly impossible things have occurred because of the trading of goods and services, rather than the insistence upon some single form of energy. The idea here is to release our thoughts about money from the strictures of source and kind, to allow the energy of supply to flow into our lives without unduly worrying about it, beyond being sure our expenditures do not overcome our purse. Similarly, when we are asked to be generous to those who need some of this green energy, it is well to think of that mental image of energy in motion, and to be generous stewards of whatever wealth we have. I have one pair of friends who have raised a family, often on practically no money at all, but they have always had just enough for what was needed. Their virtues, including building their own home, planting, harvesting, and preserving their own food, putting their children through homeschool till the end of 7th grade, and putting aside a certain dollar amount each and every monetary payday for charitable giving. It has always been my opinion that one reason they have always had plenty is that they have kept the energy moving fearlessly. Certainly, they have taught their children good values of hard work, rewarded by satisfaction, and in their case, a wonderful place to live, but they have taught much more. By the way, they never have hung on to their money, but rather have seen themselves as links in a spiritual chain of giving. There is the example of a man who was extremely virtuous in observation of each and every commandment. Yet when this seeker asked the teacher known as Jesus what more he could do to follow him, the one known as Jesus suggested that this wealthy man sell all that he had and thus be free. This parable has made entities which have a comfortable living nervous ever since these words were heard and written down. The parable is not so much about money or other kinds of wealth as it is about one's relationship to that which comes and goes. The body, for instance, is born and dies, yet it is not prideful to care for it, that it may be comfortable and serve well. So with one's estate in life, it is not a crime to conserve one's wealth and to use it that one is comfortable. Yet, if one wishes to hold on to the body by avoiding getting old and avoiding death, then there is the question of what takes precedence, the body or the soul. With the wealth of money or power, this same question holds true. Is there the relationship of conserver or steward with wealth, so that it be used prudently or with charity? Or is there the grabbing onto or owning the wealth or influence? If there is the latter, then there are some possessions to be sold so that you may follow the mind, which this instrument often calls Christ consciousness. It is hard sometimes to resist the temptation to be grabby with money and supply. Money changes everything, the song goes, and we all know what that means. The money to go first class will not make us happy, but it can offer us creature comforts which are very pleasant. As in so many spiritual concerns, it is finding that balance between prudence and stewardship on the one hand, and relaxing into the rhythms of supply and met needs on the other hand, and thinking of money that is the goal. And further, we can become artists with it, and use the issue as one more way to extend our process of seeking. Like virtually any concern, the issue of money offers an avenue whereby the spiritual seeker can learn about himself. The illusion of separation exists so that each portion of the one creator, the personality that each of you is, may have the opportunity to explore within the one creator's boundless fields the opportunities for discovering love and service to each other. Though those may not seem to be the primary purposes for which each was incarnated, the illusion offers many other alternate answers for why each is here. To gather wealth, to be powerful, to do this or that great thing. All of these are but means by which each entity may find the heart of love and unity within itself. Wanderers have a tendency not to be particularly handy with money, although this, like all generalizations, cannot be held as true in all cases by any means. Here is an example of those who have written in talking about this issue. I have never felt a need to accumulate wealth or goods to meet an inner drive, but have always felt intuitively that pursuing things of this world was not worthwhile. Of course, the Sermon on the Mount likely buttressed this concept, especially Matthew 6:24. One cannot work both sides of the street. 25 years ago, a psychic in Southend, England, told me that I would never be in need of money. The supply was assured. My life since then is confirmation of that prediction. She said I would have other troubles. True also. The quote she cites from the Gospel according to Matthew is to the effect that we cannot serve both God and Mammon. Mammon being a personified Greek demigod of money and wealth, named from the Greek word for wealth, momonos. One thing that rings true about money to me is that it is part of the lesson plan of our lives. We were not all destined to have the same amount of this world's comforts. We all did come, however, with an equal amount of love to give and to discover. Within your illusion, depending upon how you have chosen to learn the lessons of love, you will find what you consider to be shortages of power, money, influence, or love. In fact, all of these shortages are some distortion of love and may be viewed as opportunities to discover the true nature of love. If you do not have enough money, you may find that your discomfort distracts you from seeking. But if you exercise another point of view, you may find that your lack of abundance has produced a simplicity that frees you to love. Whatever our destiny for supply, there is virtue in accepting the amount we have and finding a way to live on it and to express generosity with it with peaceful hearts. Each has designed for himself a special incarnation offering powerful experiences of lack and plenty, pain and peace. If you have little money, think not that you deserve more. If you have much money, think not that you deserve less. But whatever your environment, fill it with your love of the Creator and allow that love to reach to the infinity of the Creator's laughing face, that His light may shine infinitely through you, that you may become plenty to others. Money is relevant in your illusion. Enjoy it if you have it, seek it if you must, disregard it if you can, but manifest plenty in the consciousness of love. Money is the symbol of love which has been developed by humans to facilitate the movement of goods and services. Its green energy is an illusion within an illusion. The illusion closer to reality is love. Now, let us look at the values of your culture. The emphasis is always upon that which carries what this instrument calls the green energy of money. Some have more, some have less. Needless to say, this is an illusion, for all things belong to the one infinite Creator. And as you give and as you receive, you are simply moving the energy around. So much of the power that seems to move our culture is artificial. Let us, in our use of money, remain in real relationship with the energy that is the essence of supply, the infinite love of the one Creator. If we can see supply's infinite source with faith, and if we are generous with whatever we have and keep the energy moving, we will always be able to find our way. As in any generalization, this statement leaves out those who may have fallen through the cracks of the society, who have not eaten today and who do not have a shelter to cradle their sleep this night. If so, I pray that help may be found, and that right quickly. I sincerely hope that one day soon, food and shelter will be the right of all who take breath on planet Earth. Work. When I think about the subject of work, my mind immediately moves to two immensely different quotations. One is spoken in the mournful voice of the preacher of the book of Ecclesiastes in the Holy Bible. What advantage does man have in all his work which he does under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The other contrapuntal voice is that of Khalil Gibran's in the persona of the prophet. Work is love made visible, and if you cannot work with love but only with distaste, it is better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms of those who work with joy. A good many wanderers find the first of the quotes very much their theme, as these two do. I struggle with having a real job. They feel like prison. I just want to serve. I don't want to worry about money. I would work my whole life long helping others, but I get stuck in the complexities of dealing with third density. I couldn't buy into 40 hours a week, working to be miserable and have the American dream stuff, just because I didn't think in culturally, societally accepted terms and buy into the getting married, having kids, and working. It takes time to develop a good, sound idea of what work it is that we truly want to do. Is often far too long to suit people who want us to all be ready to come to grips with working by the time we're out of school. Often, spiritual seekers in general feel quite hapless about their real career, overaged and undercommitted, but not wanting to hurry the process. My biggest dilemma is that I'm what is called a late developer. I'm at an age where most people are married, or at least settled in a career or profession. It's viewed as a dilemma because I'm not following the expected social constraints which, I realized long ago, that I didn't fit into. And sometimes we seem to be in a period where work is just never going to come together for us. I've been laid off twice from companies that have downsized, right-sized, whatever. Is someone trying to tell me something? So I decided this time to do things differently. Instead of going out and doing what I have always done, I would try teaching, coaching others. I'm a wonderful motivator of others. People get excited when I talk to them about their potential and how they can change their lives. Finding the context in which to do this is the problem. I also have a problem with making money doing this. I think learning about spirituality should be freely given, yet we all need to eat. The point is, unemployment checks are getting ready to end and I have not moved forward into any area that will meet my financial needs, much less my spiritual ones. Certainly, there are many reasons we can feel discouraged about working for a living. Perhaps our current training qualifies us for nothing but low-paying jobs, and we feel unappreciated and underpaid. Perhaps we feel we are trapped in the wrong job for us by its good pay or benefits. Perhaps we would rather be studying or farming or on permanent retreat. But we will most likely need to be employed for most of our lives in order to support our food and shelter habits. We need to have a way to look at work that helps us to cope with our necessity for continuing to be a part of the workforce. For me, that way is Gibran's way, seeing work as love made visible. 252, a metaphysically oriented healthcare specialist, says, "One thing you said about our central mission being to channel or pass the divine energy through us. I feel that I am able to do that. In fact, I feel that is my purpose. It is challenging to always do this in the setting of a hospital because it gets very stressful at times, just due to the nature of the environment. Do you have any comments on how to do this, even in the most pressing and stressful environments? When you have to hurry around, even when you don't want to? Am I in the wrong environment? 252 is very much in her right environment, the making the most of sharing her natural gifts, as I assured her. The best of jobs can often feel challenging, and it is easy to question if we are in the right place in our own processes. Spiritually speaking, I think there is virtue in seeing the present job, career, or good work as being just right for us at this present moment. And then, if we are doubtful, looking into just what lessons of love, forgiveness, and patience are being offered us, along with a chance to produce whatever we are employed to do. For beyond the type of work involved, all work is an expression of ourselves. An essential prayer. It has been said to work is to pray, and for those lucky enough, shall we say, to have found occupations which enable them to supply themselves with the necessities of survival, which also feed the spirit, this is in the deepest sense true. You may find these people working with their hands to make beauty, working with their minds as channels of various forms of love, working among people in such a way that their very being is of service in a substantial manner. But for so many, my friends, the connection between the daily life and love, between action and meditation, is not apparent. And in order for you to become able to link in any way the work of empty form which you find yourselves performing and the work which is love, it is recommended that you begin with the meditation rather than with the work. Moving in mind from thinking about our work as an empty form to seeing it as love is a powerfully enabling and energizing action, which frees us to see whatever work we do with real pride. I think this is central in thinking about working for a living. I have had some very entry-level positions in my life, as barmaid and motel clerk. I have also worked as a tax preparer, accountant, librarian, and researcher, as well as the writing I do in correspondence and composition for book projects. As the copy machine operator for the university, my very first professional job, I earned all of $1 per hour. No one in the United States can claim more humble beginnings or lower pay, and believe it or not, I did live on what I made at that $1 an hour rate. Needless to say, I had to depend more on the good fortune of the universe than at a later date when I could afford medical care and insurance, not to mention furniture, gadgets like television and telephones, and more than one room to live in. But when I was there, I loved my one room, and it was a good home. I was happy living on what I made. I felt quite service-oriented. A clerk or machine operator can work with an attitude of striving for excellence, as opposed to merely getting the job done, no matter how simple the work. I greatly enjoyed doing the job as well as I could, stapling my bundles of copy with great precision. Perhaps my most service-oriented job of all time, self-perceived, would be the barmaid job. Like my present job of corresponding with wanderers of all shapes and sizes, that job put me in touch with a large number of lonely people who felt grateful when I found the time to sit with them and converse. I never felt more appreciated in my life than at the ale-soaked bar where I worked that one college summer, carrying beer, listening, and sharing. No matter what job we have, we can see it as the outer work, which is the form of that job, hiding or partially revealing the essential form of the job, which is learning about the self and doing work upon the self in terms of developing polarity and service to others. It is seen that one's own life is a gift which is going to be created by the self by life's end within this density. Then it may be seen that whether one had an expected or an unexpected outcome for training, the actual work lay not in results, but in attitudes and biases which have been gained during the training, and that this process would go on regardless of the outer circumstances changing by apparent success or apparent failure. To be proud of our work, then, we can well focus not just on what we are doing, but how, with what love and care, we are doing it. I can remember working as a research librarian in Vancouver at Simon Fraser University in 1968. It was a professional position, but deadly dull, consisting of looking up Library of Congress catalog card references in the very heavy, oversized LC books furnished by the university. It was necessary to stand and look down at the big books and continually to heave one up and another down for examination. I trust technology has moved this work to the computer, where it has to be greatly easier to do. The other librarians in the department had a real morale problem, but my ethical nature stood me in good stead. I just challenged myself to look up each requested reference with a happy heart and a zeal for absolute accuracy, that being the essence of the job, to get it right. Within 4 months, I was being singled out for promotion to a much higher position. The positive attitude and the accuracy of my output had been noticed. We can invest our work with dignity and meaning, even if we are processing data for which we do not see much use. To do anything well, courteously and exactly is always a delight to me. If the work is easy enough, it also becomes a chance to meditate. Now that takes me back to the photocopying job. While sorting 30 copies of a 50-page document, I could move into a beautiful, blissful meditative state that lit up my workday. The point here is that work is not just about status or money. Work becomes the great work when we realize we are working on our life. The difficulty in recognizing one's true work seems to stem from that distorted value which your peoples place upon that tool of power which your peoples call the money. It is assumed that which is done in exchange for money is that which is the work, and it is assumed that, therefore, even when one is not receiving money for something, one may still be in a training period for some time, but after a certain time it is assumed that the work itself shall begin. Such is the distortion which money has created among your peoples. It is our opinion, and we stress that it is opinion only, and is not an irreducible truth, that the only work which may be called the work of an entity is that work done in consciousness during an incarnational period, which has a net result, as judged by the self after the incarnation, of polarizing the entity more and more strongly towards service to the Creator and to others. Thus, life is the work, and work is the life. This wanderer shares her vision of work as an opportunity for growth. We raised 5 amazing children together, including twins. We've also been through hell together. We lost a home to scoundrels once and another to fire. We were flooded out of one and lost one to poverty. We've owned several businesses, been rich and been poor, and started completely over from scratch financially twice. We have both had several career changes, which have given us a wide variety of experiences. I have loved every minute of my life and am so grateful for the opportunities for growth. The voice of experience and the voice of youth here agree most harmoniously. I would offer the thought that all lines of work are equal if they are done with equal love, and that if one person is doing a humble chore with love and compassion, and a second person is doing a lofty task with scorn and cynicism as well as outer competence, the first person is doing more important and better work in the metaphysical sense, whatever the human opinion might be. Russell Louis agrees. The path of service is not an easy one. During the Piscean age, the student-teacher roles were very well defined. To be of service usually meant to be in a religious, teaching, or leadership role. Today, in the Aquarian age, to be of service can mean pumping gas and spreading love while just being yourself. One doesn't have to have a degree, following, or be able to channel to be of service. The definition of service for the Aquarian age is to act from the heart at all times. This means being true to oneself in all our actions and never forgetting our connection to the one infinite Creator. It doesn't matter if one is teaching a New Age class at a local free school or being a production manager on an assembly line. The concept of working as service to others excites many wanderers. I thought about why I like my current job, and it all boils down to helping people. I have tried this and that, having no great difficulty in switching careers every 4 years and picking up almost anything from composing music and supporting myself as street singer to working in hospitals, restaurants, as department store detective, sales manager, computer programmer, international consultant, teaching Tai Chi and meditation, and even running my own private company. So what? I have always thought. I have no investment in any activities as such. Whatever currently offers me best possibilities for provoking people into feeling better with their lives, I'll give it a go as long as it lasts. Need advice on how to better your position? Here are 2 wanderers who recommend following our temperaments, our interests, and our gifts. It was my wife Elaine, who goes by Elf, who suggested that I try the aid work in the nursing home. Having multiple health problems stemming from child-onset diabetes, she has found that my calm and my energy helped her feel better. She thought I would be effective with the elderly and would find the work rewarding. She was precisely correct. She has always recognized my path of growth and happiness. In my teens, I experimented first with yoga, age 11 to 15, then Ouija, age 13 to 16, then finally Tarot, age 22 to 29, and again now. I learned massage from my mother at age 12, a skill I have developed into combined massage and counseling, intuitive massage, chakras and energy paths, and occasional contact touch healing. I am at present studying and integrating crystal healing and reading into my skills. Karen Eck suggests visualizing what we need, whether it is a home or a job that we are seeking. I wrote down what I wanted to manifest for housing after I landed a job and got pretty close. Which reminds me, that's what I need to do here. Write down the best scenario I can think of for being in this place where I now find myself. Mary testifies that work in consciousness has the power to vastly improve one's working conditions. Back in '88, when I went to work for a big corporation, I was introduced to foremen, coordinators and group leaders on the production floor. One group leader would only speak curtly to me. I instantly knew that I was up against a tough old gal. Since I had a great deal of interaction with her, I decided I would fool her, and instead of returning the curtness, I smiled and spoke softly. It took a few months, but in the end, she was asking if I needed anything. It's amazing what a smile can accomplish, and I was amazed. This is such an important point. Sometimes we are in a job to learn something. It may be a quality such as forgiveness or patience. It may be that we are to learn the job to understand how that particular job works as a step towards another job down the road. I remember one particular boss I had at the Speed School Engineering Library at the University of Louisville. For one very hard year, I was assistant to the head librarian there. She had never had an assistant in the 24 years since she had founded that library in 1941. I came in 1965. She had some well-developed habits which handicapped her. In an all-male school, she was afraid of and avoided men. She and the dean were at loggerheads over the then-new computers. He wanted them in a library, and so did I. She did not. The dean even offered me her job and her pay if I could make her quit. How tempting that was, because it was very easy to upset this woman. However, I reasoned that this would not be a professional behavior or ethically correct, and so I passed up the chance and contented myself with learning everything she knew. This she was very glad to pass along, as she had a reason for everything she did and loved to explain it. After a year of apprenticeship to this old hand, I was able to land a challenging solo job at a private school as their school librarian and do the job really well. It is my favorite job ever, that 6-year period of getting their book collections in shape and relating to all the students each week, either in daily study hall or in special weekly classes, and the faculty as well. All the technical expertise I needed, I had learned from the curmudgeon who could have been my enemy. If we are in challenging relationships on the job, it is well to work with them creatively and persistently before giving up on the job itself. Of course, sometimes it is time to move on. We may feel this on an inner level, or it may come out and hit us across the forehead, as when my violin playing friend, David, found his wrist too sore to play or to practice. What was a concert master to do? I suggested that he see if there were other directions of work that would come to him in the next little while. Sure enough, he was soon offered a job at a leading conservatory, teaching gifted students, a position in which he still finds great satisfaction. Christelle Rowe has a similar story. I worked in the medical field for a while until a heart arrhythmia stopped me, so I started searching and reading everything metaphysical I could. I also had to find some kind of work that I could do with this heart arrhythmia. I have always had a great love of crystals, so I opened up a small metaphysical rock and crystal shop in my home. It has been tough because the town I live in is very closed, but slowly they are beginning to open. Every day I say to the Supreme Being, send those that need the crystals and minerals, or just send those that need a friend to talk to. And some days I may only have 1 or 2 people, but I hope the crystals enrich them and that I may be their friend. I spend most of my other time studying and in prayer, searching for the right truth. So you see, I am a fellow wanderer, and I hope to find others I can communicate with. What a good and balanced attitude. Do a really excellent job and keep working on the self in study, prayer, and self-confidence. If we are bored, harassed, or otherwise dissatisfied with our work, I certainly encourage the search for new work we can better love. But whatever we are doing, let us do it with pride, love, and generosity, and we shall always find satisfaction in it, from our own processes and from the people around us. All right, thanks so much for listening. That concludes this episode. Such a profound and important and impactful topic. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just magically all wake up tomorrow and the world was in a gift economy where all of our basic needs were met, where we could work if we wanted to, or not if we didn't want to, where we could have guaranteed shelter and guaranteed food and water. That would just take away so much of the world's stress, fear, uncertainty. It really is keeping most of the world in a state of survival. From a consciousness state that is in the lower range of consciousness, where people are worried about their daily needs like food and shelter, medicine and stuff like that, it becomes really easy to put aside the spiritual aspect of life. Now, of course, there is a grand master plan of trauma-based mind control, keeping us in endless wars and endless traumas, endless debt slave situations. But I have a feeling that that's why most or all Wanderers and Starseeds incarnated at this time, to help shift Earth, raise the consciousness of the planet and the peoples, and to help in any and every way they can to usher in a new Earth. And with that being said, thanks so much as always. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you on the next episode.